Folks, welcome to the Random Party Generator, and we give you a full random party tonight. Oh my god! Let's see. I guess we'll go clockwise. Rob, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rob Conley. I'm batting out of games.
Tim from Gothridge Manor.
Paul from Flint Fireforge.
Leroy Jenkins.
Otherwise known as the Chubby Funster.
Chubby Funster.
Or the Pope.
The Pope. Never
Pope of the
the
Pope of the OSR. Let's not forget that. He has an honorific.
Yeah, give out your edicts, your papal edicts.
Yep.
I heard there was some chocolate edicts that came down this week about Lamentations,
Chocolate edicts.
Lamentations of the Flame Princess. I'll let you bring that up later.
Oh my gooshness. I mean, that was as an aside, listen, when a book was published 7 years ago and it got an Emmy 6 years ago, and then the author rescinded the fact that they wrote it, like they disowned it. Like they threw the child away 4 years ago. How does it become news now?
But understand why is it coming up now?
That was my thought. I'm like, besides the fact that it drove James to go topless.
Never underestimate the power of ignorance. Okay, this person just stumbled on it. Probably that's how it is. You know.
Okay, so the chain of event, this podcaster, YouTuber named Crispy made a video, but we only are hearing about it because James did a topless video in response.
Oh, no, we heard about it before. I heard about it before because James's response has, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 views. The original video has like 80,000 views.
Oh,
yeah.
Crispy is popular.
Crispy is popular in realms aside from ours. Even Professor DM commented on my video response. And listen, I've done some harsh criticism in my past. Hey, I've done some mocking criticism in my past, but I don't do skits where I pantomime with sound effects and a prop committing suicide on screen. Okay, which Crispy did, and it was like, what the ever-loving fuck? Here, we're gonna demonetize right from the start. What the ever-loving fuck was the point to that shit? Besides being a drama individual, a drama llama.
I seem to remember in doing that was considered poor taste back in the 90s or something.
Yeah, it was. I think it's considered. I just think if you bring up deleting yourself, that's why people use these euphemisms for the S word, is because YouTube will demonetize you. But yet this guy goes through the whole skit. Because I guess it was a paranoia skit because he goes, look what the mess I left, and I didn't think I'd need a new clone this soon.
This person just wants attention.
Yes.
I mean, in a couple of weeks they'll discover like a new band like Metallica that they've never heard of before, and then they'll be talking about those guys. I mean, this person's ignorant. What do you want me to tell you? Like, have you heard of this guy Billy Joel? Who knows what they're going to find out next? This guy.
I heard him and his wife got divorced.
What a scandal! I mean, remember when getting a divorce used to be a scandal? How things have changed.
I'll tell you. It's a rite of passage in many areas these days. Jeez.
No, I respect James. How he conducts his business. I mean, I've worked with him on some projects, and he always paid me promptly, and he was good to work with. And even though his creative vision isn't my cup of tea, I respect his passion.
Right.
So what is the book about? What's this chocolate book about?
Okay. It is and then remember, most of the stuff that James publishes is taking place in reflections of the real world and in alt history. And this is like an alt history of the, I guess, I don't know, the Inca, Mayan.
The Peruvians.
Peruvians, sorry. And as James points out, all the major characters, all the power players in this adventure are women. But that means the bad guys happen to be indigenous women, which apparently we're supposed to be offended by. But it takes place in a culture that I'm guessing the author wasn't. I mean, is there anybody still living from that time frame that can authentically write about that time frame in that community?
I mean, there's if it depends on what you're doing. If you're trying to pass off something that's authentic, then yeah, do your research.
But, right. Oh, I think the research was done, and I think
I don't think the criticism was that it wasn't authentic.
Right. The criticism is it was a book for incels, but he didn't like or try. And I'm misgendering because I did look up Crispy, and they identify as asexual. But Crispy is calling it a book for incels. But was offended by the whole idea that the indigenous pygmies were considered to be evil. You always have, but the real reality is, it takes place in that fictitious version of the society. I don't know. He was finding a lot of things to be offended by.
I guarantee that whoever wrote the book knows an order of magnitude more about the Incan culture than anybody criticizing it. It's about how much stuff I have had to read and study and learn to write stuff about desert cultures or Islamic type cultures, and then if somebody came back to me and was like, what you're writing is against Islamic people, like I've spent hundreds of hours learning more than you know about this. What the fuck are you talking about? That's the kind of thing. The people who are criticizing this stuff don't know anything, right? The person who they're criticizing, there was some guy back in the Google Plus days who wrote a book called Walkabout or something, where it was role playing as like indigenous Australian people, and he had spent like hundreds of hours learning about indigenous Australian culture and all this stuff, and people are cracking off attacks on him who have 5 minutes of studying indigenous Australian culture. Like, who the hell are you to talk to this
That's
guy?
inaccurate.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Well, the other issue was that he had with it was that it was just like that the character, the PCs were it was just wholesale slaughter of, to go in and
murder hoboing, which honestly is, except for maybe the new 5e adventures where you're a barista, has historically been what gaming has been about.
I think we all know that before 1900, it was very peaceful out there in the world. And the further back you go, the more peaceful it is. I mean, at the beginning, it was just like two guys just walk out and hug each other, and they're like, "I'm so glad we can live in the woods."
That's why the Bible it starts out with the whole story of Cain and Abel.
Exactly. Somebody gets hit with a rock.
Yeah,
friendly brothers. I mean, gosh, everybody knows it was so nice back then. Yeah, we've really fallen to.
Cain was the original murder hobo.
I don't view it as quite as grim as that. I view it more like it's an all of above situation. There was love and there was hate and there was everything in between, like in different.
Oh, I agree, Rob. That's what I'm saying. Is the idea that you could set anything in the Incan Empire and it would be about like people being happy and friends. Like that's. You don't know anything about the Incan Empire, then, obviously, or the Aztecs, or like these people weren't known for their great peace and love.
Yeah, the South American civilization and the Mesoamerican civilization is very interesting because technology-wise, and in a lot of ways, they were the path not taken by the old world civilization.
Oh, masonry. There's all kinds of ways that they did agricultural, the temple mound cultures. There's all kinds of stuff to learn. But the people who are commenting on this don't want to actually know anything about those cultures. They don't want to spend any time reading about them. They just want to be sad about it.
And I watched the video, and I watched that video twice because I watched it once on the. James has a video in response to this. I probably should watch the original first, and then I went through it a second time, going, "Did I actually see what I saw and hear what I heard?" I'm like, "Did I actually see somebody act out of suicide?" And by the way, not that I'm giving advice, but the belly shot. Come on, that if you've ever seen a Western, you know the belly shot's the bad way to go.
Yeah.
All right, demonetization check.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not even bothering to check. I already earned that early on. No, we don't need no stinking money. But it's James. But James's response, and this is just, and I told James this. The initial response the response to the actual book from James, I thought was spot on. And then James went off into the weeds about the Jordan Peterson criticism, which again was something from like 8 years ago, which I don't know why Crispy digs up. There's enough stupid shit going on in gaming today that you don't need to go back 6, 7, 8 years and dig up drama unless it's a hit piece. And that's what it seemed like to me, that it was an opportunity to strike James because God forbid he did business with Zach Smith back in the day. Oh.
I mean, this shit at this point.
Well, and Zach Smith didn't even write this one, did he?
No, but all right, my son knows when the fuck I have my live streams. He's probably fucking watching right now. Rachel will be getting a call soon, guaranteed. Oh my God. I get the rest of the family trained. My son is the one that resists training.
So speaking about the rest of the hobby, what's the white box Kickstarter at?
Oh my God! I haven't checked in. Actually, I don't think I checked since I went to Page. James is at 41,000 with 13 to go. I'm going to guesstimate. We're looking at about 75K on this, 75K.
That's not a bad chunk of change.
Tom, thank you for your reference to Blazing Saddles. I do appreciate it. Oh, God. But so we've been trying to schedule with James. What I'm going to try to do is, and this is just an aside, I am now doing a weekday live stream on some random ass day for people across the pond. It actually had a pretty good turnout when me and Glenn did it on Thursday. But I'll try to see if I can grab James to spend a little time one afternoon, and we can talk about the white box. All right, we got a question from Tom. Did he know? Meaning, I guess, James, Zach was an asshole when he did business with him back in the day. That would be my first question. The second question I would ask is, have I ever done something stupid in the past?
I'm sure you knew about Zach.
Yeah, you couldn't.
Yeah, because
it's not like you ever did that.
It could be a case that when it comes to business or creative stuff like this, Zach is all polite as hell. And it's only on the forum that he adopts a persona, the argumentative persona, as something performative. I've seen people do that.
Yeah.
Well, at a certain point, you wear the masks long enough.
So he's just a
It becomes
situational
your
asshole.
persona. I don't know.
Oh no.
Well, I mean, with Zach, Zach, what was it? Our missing compatriot. I should pour out a little rock star for Joe the lawyer. Joe has more important things than to spend time with you all. He's making videos.
He's working on vital stuff, guys.
Vital.
It's going to be incredible.
But and of course, me doing that little bit just lost my train of thought. Hold on a second. Going back to Zach. Joe met Zach once or twice at art shows in Manhattan and said, "Oh, he's very nice. He's personable." I don't doubt it. Because he's trying to sell shit at that time, right? And online, he was trying to... He didn't mind attacking other creators because other creators weren't going to help him sell shit. So he would, the attacks on Greg was because, Greg was at least a mental equal when it came to these discussions / discourse that used to happen on G+. And therefore you had to attack and belittle because he didn't have an accurate answer for when the discussion would go in a direction he didn't want.
And I mean, this is, I try not to psychoanalyze people too much, but the way that Zach tries to interact with people is to Socratically walk them into a position and then cut them off. And the problem that he had with me was that I could always see what he was doing. And so he would be like, "Wouldn't you agree with blah, blah, blah?" And I'd go, "No, I don't agree with blah, blah, blah." And then it wouldn't work. So then he'd try, "Well, don't you agree with blah, blah, blah?" And every time he would get so frustrated with me because he couldn't drop the breadcrumb. I would just eat the breadcrumb. and he was like, "Damn it."
Yeah. You got more of that, and what was funny back in the G+ days, and it wasn't planned this way, but Greg and I made a pretty good tag team. Greg was the stronger one at this, but if Greg needed to take a break and step away, I would step in. That's why I was the fucking cop. I didn't get the great Pope of the OSR because that was Greg. I was just the Swiss Guard.
Were you a good cop or bad cop?
Well, he
was the fucking cop.
That was that fucking cop,
Yeah, that's what he was. Yeah.
He was that fucking cop. I was like, oh.
Greg would leave, and then comes. Now listen, this guy here, he's gonna beat the crap out of you. But listen, if you listen to me, we're gonna take care of you. We're gonna make a deal.
Yeah. I mean, we had that one
Greg back in here. Zach.
We had that one blog post on his blog where it was like 200 plus comments back and forth with him trying to do that, where he would try to walk me into what his trap was, and he would get so frustrated with it. And I'm sure that didn't do my reputation any good either, but it was so fun to thwart it. To keep coming at me and be like, "God, I don't think that's true," and then he would shift, and then he would try to attack from a different direction because he was so convinced that. I think that's how he gets his jollies. That's why I go back to my try not to psychoanalyze him, but I think he's one of those people who gets a joy out of the chaos, out of seeing the emotional suffering. Like, he's not going for a goal. Like if I'm arguing with Flint, it's going to be about a specific thing, and I'm going to be like, yeah, I think that this thing should be this way. But Zach would argue with Flint just to piss him off, just to rile him up, and then like a vampire soaking in the, he would just be like, yes, now Flint is angry, that kind of thing, and that was. So it was fun just to mess with him because he could never get that out of me, because I would never be angry at him.
No,
I would just roll into a different direction, and he was like, no. So I mean, regardless, I mean, I still said before, I think he does an interesting thing. He's skilled at particular stuff. I don't think somebody should be banned or kicked out of any hobby because you don't like them personally.
Right.
You know, like I don't I don't give a shit what Tom Cruise thinks personally. I like the movie. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Yeah. I don't care what anybody. I mean, if Morgan Freeman was doing terrible shit outside of the movies, that wouldn't matter to me. I don't care. Like it doesn't matter. He's doing a good job. If my plumber does a good job and he goes home, I don't care what his personal views are on shit.
It's art. It's art and artist.
Right. Well, we have to do that all the time, right? We look back at older creators or current creators, and it's like, well, I like their work. They were a shitty person. I think Zach is a shitty person. Red and Pleasant Land is one of the top 5 RPG books ever. Do I plan on rereading it, never running it? No, but I got so much else I could. But it is a really good piece of work. It's irrelevant of whether Zach is a piece of work. Okay? We can put it that way.
Well, speaking of work, not a piece of work, I just did a search for OSR under games on Kickstarter, and it lists over 419 projects.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, the Zine Quest is out. They're going to start coming. So then they have the 100. So they might be firing up for some of those.
Well, it's not 419 current. It's 419 overall.
Yeah. How far back is that going, Rob? Did you how many have you missed? 2006?
No, it's all either one's in progress or pending.
Really?
Right.
They did this.
Oh,
that's what I was going to say, because when Zine Quest hits, that always skyrockets for all the pending things that are kind of come up.
This one leaped out at me. I just like the title, Attack the Light. It's from that video, but it's a Shadow Dark zine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't launched it yet, but he has
Michael Putleg is a big contributor on Shadow Dark's Facebook group and everything.
No, I think this is. I just like the title. It's like, oh, that somehow suits Shadow Dark.
Interesting.
I like the line from U2 where you kick in the darkness till it bleeds daylight.
There you go. There's an idea for a zine that you could do. Kick the darkness.
That's right. Kick the darkness. That's right.
Kick the darkness. Kick the darkness. So did you? Who else saw that EN World got hit with a cease and desist?
Yeah, I saw your video today.
I wonder who the evil genius is who did that.
Ba-dum-bum-bum.
Thank you.
I didn't get to watch it, but he did an interview with OGGM.
Really?
Yeah, he was doing a live interview, and I missed it, but I saw that he was live. He was doing the interview with him.
And it was recent?
Yes, it was live today.
So he was suing him while they were doing the interview?
No. The OGGM is not part of N-World, but he's not suing yet. He's issuing cease and by the way, they're invalid C&Ds. For cease and desist to be valid, you have to address it to somebody, not just a legal team, and not even N-World legal team, just legal team. And you actually have to spell out what the offense is, not just vague book it and then give a link. So, and by the way, they referred to, in the cease and desist, they referred to the Digital Rights Act and all that. It has nothing to do with slander or libel, if that's what you're claiming. So, and this is all because Russ wrote a bad investigative article. When I say bad, it was good. He did his homework, he did his research, but
unflattering.
It was unflattering. Yes. And what was that damn inaccurate facts?
Boy, that's a word salad, isn't it?
If they're facts and they're inaccurate, they aren't facts. And if it's a fact, It's accurate. Now,
so this letter doesn't even have the contact information for the lawyer unless they removed it.
They might have removed it so he wouldn't get doxxed. I mean,
it seems to me like the bar for resolving disputes in the role-playing game community with lawsuits. I can't understand why these people perceive that this is something worth going to the legal battle for. I mean, like it'd be one thing if Wizards of the Coast came out and said something slanderous about you, but some dude on a forum. I mean, like what?
But not only that, I mean, the articles were 6 months old. Now you're trying to get them taken down. I'm gonna for later viewing, folks. There is a link to the OGGM video, but I think even Russ said this. It's the Streisand effect, Morris. If you don't want something to be talked about, don't fucking talk about it. Let it lie. But did you think that by serving an improper cease and desist on EN World that they were going to just turn over and go on their back and give up? No. I'm going to look at it. You got others mocking this shit now. And this is a company that their first Kickstarter brought in, I think it was 400,000. The next one was like 150. The most recent one didn't break 50K. This is the Everyday Heroes. So if you want to play Rambo, this is the company you go to. But apparently, they got some investment money that came in from one of those. I don't know why I say fugazi, but
somebody knew somebody who said, "Okay, here's $100,000.
Here's $100,000. Give me back 200." So they're looking to make money, and I guess they're under pressure to get the bad publicity gone. It doesn't work that way. The internet lives forever.
Streisand effect, man.
Yeah,
it's real.
It is real.
The original article was old, like 6 years old or something like that when they originally wrote it. And then
it wasn't 6 years. It was from the summer. It was from the summer. And Morris actually interviewed the CEO of the company at the time because they had gone from 22 or 20 employees down to 6. We're letting and the employees that were no longer there, some were let go, but some left on their own because they didn't like the way the company was being run. Usually that means moral issues, in my experience. When people leave a company, it's moral issues, and that also includes not getting paid. I mean, if you're not getting paid, you leave. But if you're
ethical issues.
Yeah, ethical issues. Yeah. And he didn't, fight the article then, but apparently it still comes up in search results for Evil Genius Games on the first page, and he wanted it gone. Well, now it's everywhere.
I know you make a big fuss about it, like shh. Yeah. It'll go away.
Do better. I mean, that's the whole thing. Listen, if you fuck up and it's on the internet, your choices are to walk away or do better. There's really no other options.
Or you put all your posts onto a Google platform that they discontinue. That shit is gone. Okay, all this stuff on Google Plus, no more. Deleted. That's the only way to get rid of stuff, is to put it into find a program that Google is about to discontinue because it works too well, and then it will be deleted forever.
Wow, talk about the memory hole.
Well, yeah. If there's another news that I think is actually more significant than some game company with a pole up their butt, and that is the Diamond Comics Distributors files bankruptcy.
Yep.
And apparently they owe Wizards of the Coast almost $1 million. Hasbro separately over $1 million. Catalyst Games $400,000. Army Painter $300,000. Publisher Service, a board game and tabletop RPG distributor, $200,000. And NECA, I guess they make collectibles and HeroClix stuff. They almost all $2.5 million.
$2.5 million.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Rob, you got a link to the article?
Yep.
Drop it in the private chat. I'll share it out there.
That could wipe out the entire 2024 profits.
Yeah.
For Hasbro.
Yeah, they filed for according to this article on InWorld, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Yep, that was last week. That was during the midst of when I was asking Paizo's vice president about their lead designer making some stupid political comments and telling people to send their books back. And this is when I'm sorry for the delay in response because I was dealing with the Diamond Distributors bankruptcy, and then I never got an answer to the question I really wanted an answer to. But what? I'm not surprised.
But the actual part that deals with games, Alliance Game Distributors, apparently been acquired by a Universal Distribution.
But are they also acquiring the debt?
No, it doesn't sound like that.
I mean, if they're not acquiring the debt, that means literally that these companies are going to be shit out of luck. I mean and I'm going to do that. Quick gamer math. 27.3. There's roughly $5.5 million that is owed to companies, and it might seem insignificant in other businesses, but in our hobby, in our community, with these companies, that's a significant. That is, the margins are small, and Hasbro can probably suck that up, but I don't know. Even if they suck it up, it doesn't mean it's not going to hurt.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Apparently Goodman Games has an exclusive distribution deal with Diamond Book Distributors back in 2023.
Oh.
Yeah, I gave you the link to that.
Wow.
A bit of an understatement, but that can't be good.
No, not at all. That now, when it comes to a bankruptcy, bankruptcy could end that exclusivity. But now we don't know if Goodman Games is owed money. Likely they are.
Well, maybe I'm just ignorant here, but why would the distributor owe money to like Wizards of the Coast? Is it that they're supposed to take a certain percentage of profits and hand that back up the chain?
Yeah.
I thought a distributor bought the books and then they took on the risk of selling them.
Well, there's always lag time when you ship a distributor product. You're not going to receive money before you ship. You ship them. You have an agreement to. No, I'm not totally up on this, so somebody probably going to correct me. But you ship them something, then you invoice them for what you shipped.
But couldn't they just? I would think that the problem is a cash flow issue. So
right. If Wizards
of the Coast gave them a bunch of books, and they couldn't pay for them, then Wizards of the Coast could just take the books back if there was a bankruptcy problem.
Well, no, they've already been distributed, so you can't take them back. You got to take them back from Complete Strategist, and Troll and Toad, or whoever's selling them. The books have been distributed. They just haven't been paid for yet by the distributor.
Yeah, obviously,
nice
Wizards
Ponzi scheme there.
Yes.
Yeah, they probably have some terms like.
They
probably have some terms.
Sorry.
They probably have some term like net 60, net 30, or whatever. So they don't get paid right away. They get expected paid in X number of days, and then if the distributor develops cash flow problems, then invoices don't get paid. But it's going to take a couple of months before you realize you got to start collecting on them.
Right. I mean, when I worked retail, I worked for a department store that went through Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and that's when I realized, as a head of sales / salesperson, you really realize that, this company wasn't paying for stuff up front. They were paying for stuff, based upon their profits, and things weren't shipping, or if things were shipping, creditors were demanding separate promises that they would get priority in bankruptcy court, or that the company would offer to give or request priority because they were shipping stuff when the company was under Chapter 11. It was never good, man. But that's how a lot of this stuff works. It's the Wimbley stuff, right? I'd gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. So hey, it's a good. Hey, listen, we could all be distributors, right? Just give me a line of credit, and I'll be happy to take your books and sell them. It's almost like running a Kickstarter. Ooh.
Well,
this
is a lot of baggage with that statement.
All right, Ken Whitman's not here, so I you know what? Mike Neistel was at Page, and I didn't get a chance to see him.
I bet you his favorite person in the whole world.
I'm probably his favorite person in the whole world. Yeah, didn't get a chance to see him. It was I got a chance to see a lot of other YouTubers. That was actually very nice.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, what's the Page report? You were there.
Yeah, I was there. So Page, I don't know what the final tally was for attendees. I think late Friday it was already 1,700. So they probably easily hit over 2,000. All the vendors I spoke to did a great job. They were very happy with their sales. Heidi Gygax and Eric Garland, their booth was always swamped. So when I talked to them both, usually at the hotel bar, but when I finally got a chance to go to their table on Sunday, they were packing up because they had nothing left. They sold out of everything they brought.
What was Heidi Gygax selling?
They had a new board game, and they were just packing up the last of it. So it was it was a lot of fun. There were, it was a good idea. The special guests had a bit of an overlap. There were old school special guests, and then you had the YouTube media special guests. And the first night, Thursday night, was the cheesesteak dinner and just like a hangout. So that was for the special guests and, some of the attendees that paid for their special badges. And it was nice because everybody got to relax and not worry about anything but socialization that first night. And that was a lot of fun. So I got to meet Stephen Glicker from Roll for Combat. He's a frequent watcher of our live streams. Saw Dan from Professor DM. Dungeon Craft a number of times. Saw Kelsey the first night, but then she got hit with Concrud and was laid low. But I would say that I got very lucky. The game I ran, I had a boardroom in the hotel, the only boardroom in the hotel. That was my game session.
Oh, that must have been nice.
That was very nice. I didn't have to stand up and walk the table like I always do.
Did you meet anybody? Did you meet any other YouTubers where you were like, you look taller on YouTube?
Like Bob World Builder. I met Bob the first night, and I actually went to him. Hey, I actually know who you are, because I was meeting other people who I recognized faces, but I didn't know their names. And I'm gonna do it again, like Baron. Yeah, all right. He actually covered for Kelsey. Seemed nice enough. I just, the name just escaped me. But so Mike Shea, I did a panel. Of course, the microphone wasn't working for most of the panel. Here's the cons. I'll be really quick with the cons of the con. They had 2 seminar areas, but they're both embedded in the gaming area.
Oh no!
So even though you're surrounded by curtains, no.
Oh yeah, I've been at machinery conventions, and certain manufacturers with bigger footprints would wall off areas with curtains. Never really worked out well.
So now that being said, the convention space itself at the Expo Center wasn't as noisy as I expected. It seemed not to reflect all the sound, but next year they're going to go from having 30% of the Expo Center to having 100%. So that's going to be good. The vending area was packed with vendors. Joe Block did very well. Pace Center Games did well. Frog Guy Games, Severed Games. I got to meet a lot of people that I didn't realize were followers of this channel, and it was great to hear. Rach got the compliments of, I watch Gamers Health. I was like, oh, there you go, Rach. You can do this now.
Nice.
So
did you get to go visit Runehammer's store? He's got his own joint there in Philly.
A lot of people did go out and visit the Runehammer store, but
what's the Runehammer store?
It's a new gaming store in Philly.
Yeah, but it's pretty decked out.
People are building new gaming stores?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a
Amiibo
thing.
got a new gaming store a few years back, and it's doing quite well. Of course, he sold out to Warhammer, but no, he's a nice guy, and it's called Purple Fox, and he's done very well. Expanded, he moved twice, and now he has a pretty large space.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're doing war games and stuff, I meant like
well, you got to do more than RPG.
Yeah.
You got to do. Apparently, you got to do a lot of Magic the Gathering, probably too. But I met a lot of creatives, a lot of fellow YouTubers. I was happy to get a chance to get FaceTime with others in our YouTube corner of the universe, because you don't normally get a chance to do so. But yeah, they were talking about, for a lot of these larger channels, that the traffic isn't there anymore. They're having to pivot. And when we watch these videos from Professor DM or others talking about how the algorithm isn't helping and why Professor DM does clickbait titles, there's a change on YouTube. I don't think we're big enough for it to affect us all that much. But if you're a bigger channel and you're doing this for an income, it's hurting some.
Yeah. Is it YouTube fault or a change in the culture?
It could be a little bit of both. But when YouTube is telling creatives, I guess when you're big enough, you can talk to somebody at YouTube. You don't get caught up in the YouTube spam folder. But when a YouTube creative who's been around for almost a decade doing D&D stuff is told, hey, listen, You're in that death spiral right now, so you should probably pivot and find another focus. It's kind of like tunnels and trolls.
Yeah, well, all social media is rented land, and so the rule for me is, if I can get them into another ecosphere, whether that's a newsletter, whether that's something else in which that's why people have discords or people have other things that which you can communicate with people, because if YouTube goes away or if whatever goes away, at least you have some other thing. Or if you have a product that you sell and you're using YouTube as simply as a distribution of whatever it is you sell, and you're not saying, hey, they say the rule was like you have 1,000 true fans and you can make a living, doing something.
Right.
So if you're using it for that, for that means, then that's probably a better use of time than trying to, keep a mess with the algorithm to get what you need from YouTube.
So it's almost like the online version of what game stores have to do. You can't sell just RPG. You can't just sell Magic the Gathering. You can't just sell Warhammer style games or just board games. You have to sell them all in order to truly prosper.
You got to diversify, but but you can get away with just selling Warhammer and Magic probably and not play. And I mean, the RPGs would be the lesser of those of what people would buy. You'd have those there, but your generators are going to be Magic number 1, Warhammer probably number 2, and then RPGs number 3.
Yeah. And I think that's, if you look at the model of some of the more successful people, it's about getting a higher value from the bandwidth that you have rather than going shallow over broad distance. I'd rather be an Alexander McCrease or a Kelsey Dion hitting one market for a deeper amount rather than trying to be everything to everyone. And I focus my own work on trying to do the thing well and get the sales from that. And I was just talking to Rob today about seeing some numbers from people, how much they're actually making per, for profit after a Kickstarter. Because like if you bring in an $80,000 Kickstarter, but you're dropping $70,000 in costs, then you're only making $10,000. Whereas if you can move the same amount without having to do any of that work and do it print on demand or something, why would you do Kickstarter except to get a nicer quality book? But I wouldn't want to deal with all the headaches of doing a Kickstarter. That's what's been the thing that holds me back. And
now we really need to get a breakdown of what they're spending that $70,000 on in your example, because it's like 90% of what you take in. I mean, what are we talking? Box sets? Box for box sets?
Shipping. There's all kinds of distribution problems. That particular person I was talking about had gotten hit by the whole. Was it Baltimore where the bridge got hit by the ferry?
Oh,
yeah. And so it's like how much, even if you weren't shipping through Baltimore, now everything's rerouting through New York, and all of a sudden your costs and your time go up for no reason that you can't predict. And I think, it's kind of like you'd rather have something delivered from a local Amazon warehouse than shipped all the way from China to your house. You want to have something printed at the local print shop and delivered to somebody rather than shipped. You don't want to be shipping books from China to you and then from you to somewhere else. It just starts getting to be crazy on the cost of doing that. And especially if, the price of oil goes up, the price of paper goes up. When they had the lumber shortage in COVID time frame, cost of getting a fence on your house like quadrupled in like a 3-month period. Like, what the hell? Yeah. So it's just all kinds of things like that you can't anticipate.
Well, I think the way Kevin Crawford does it is ideal. He does it the traditional POD route for the main Kickstarter, and then later on he'll have an offset print run Kickstarter. And that way, it seems like on the offset print run, he can just solely focus on getting that book produced and shipped.
Yeah, and he's a great example of making sure you have that who said 1,000 people who are really your fans. So was that Paul?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like that's what you need. I'm about to come out with a book. My goal is to be talking to those people who would be in that group, the people who bought Shadow Sun, the people who bought Shadowrun, making sure that I'm hitting those things. I'm not going to be going after, advertising on Facebook to randos.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm working on, my Into the Majestic Fantasy Realm, it's going to be interesting to see how much I can, that 20,000 people who how many I can convert of that 20,000 people who downloaded Black Marsh. Now, granted, that's over 10 years. So, I mean, obviously, people who are getting Black Marsh in 2012 may not be interested in role playing like they were, but still, if we're just talking half of them in the last two I got in the last 5 years.
But you can email them, right, through drive-through.
Mm-hmm.
There's a no contact thing, but I got a kind of a sneaky way around it. I'm going to update my Black Marsh with a Majestic Fantasy Realm brochure. It's going to have some useful content in it. So it'll be a legit update, but it'll also sell the fact that I'm producing. And it's not going to be, I'm not going to be so crass to put the link to the Kickstarter in there, but it definitely will help for when it goes public on drive-through after the Kickstarter.
I love Tabletop Taproom trying to say he's a rando. You are not a rando, sir. You are a creator, YouTuber, dude. That's a totally different category. Okay.
Yeah, you're a rando in name only. Even, your rando card was removed from you a number of years ago.
Rando Taprizian.
So I wonder if this downturn affects all niches of the hobby equally, whether it's just D&D 5e in general, or so like say like the Kelsey's channel is still doing well. Or the OSRs are still doing well.
I think it's mostly, from what I can gather, the 5e channels, and I think you can look at that in many ways. You could say that the desire to watch all these real live plays has shrunk. You could say that maybe because of the change in edition, not a change in edition, whatever you want to call it, that there was a little pushback on 5e content.
Oh, I think, did you hear the news from Science? They found the new Absolute Zero for Enthusiasm. It's apparently it's in the Wizards of the Coast content office.
You gotta drop all those uhs if you want to hit with the comedy, Rob. I mean, you can't stumble your way. You can't stumble your way through it.
Tim knows only 1 out of 10 of my jokes hit.
That's okay. This
whole rollout of 2024 has been as low energy as it gets.
Well, you know what? That was a conversation that I did have with other YouTubers who shall remain nameless. But some of them had actually beta tested the VTT, right? And they said what they beta tested was good, but it may have been good, but we are now, a month and a half away from the release of the last book of the trilogy. The VTT, we don't have a release date for it. We don't have a public beta. We don't have any tease other than whatever the tease has been from months ago. And a lot of the thought going on, and this is a thought exercise, is what if WotC had to just eat the project? What would the write-off be? I mean, they already wrote off what was it, their movie division. They sold that at like a 90% loss when they sold it, E1. What would they have to eat if WotC had to admit defeat on the VTT and say, we're not going to be able to put this out and make a profit off it. What would that mean?
At some point, you run out of other people's money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, movie companies can make whole movies and shelve them and use it as a tax write-off. And I'm wondering if that's the route they would go, is they just, it's a tax write-off.
Although that thing, writing off whole movies, I mean, that's always been a thing that will go on, but it seems to be a little worse in the last couple of years.
Well, see, you have to make good movies in order to write off the bad movies. You can't all write off all your movies. You're gonna be
but we don't know. We don't know if they're good movies or bad. I would have liked to have seen the Batgirl movie, right? We don't know why they shelve them. I would have liked to have seen it to determine. But says, we're going to shelve it because we need a tax write-off. Or reason was for shelving.
So you like Batgirl, do you?
Yeah, I like Batgirl.
I see. I just see what's going on here.
I like me some Batgirl. Nothing wrong with Batgirl. Back in the day,
I can't imagine how bad they must be if they shelve them completely, because I've seen
Brendan
some really
Fraser
horrible things that they advertised.
Brendan Fraser was in it. I mean, not that everything he's in is whatever, but I would think it would have some level of competency if he's in it.
So, I mean, to me, that was I guess a Saturday night discussion amongst. It was, let's discuss this, or do we go to the auction over at the exhibit hall? And I voted to stay at the bar and drink more beer.
And Greg, don't act like you didn't look at Barbara Gordon in the original Batman on TV. Don't tell me you weren't looking at Batgirl.
Well, I may have been negative years old at that time. Actually, I'm the youngest one here. I was born in '81, bro.
Reruns.
So was attendance at Page better this year than last year?
I wasn't at Page last year because we had Rachel's breast cancer scare. So she was going through chemo at that time. Not chemo, radiation. She was going through radiation at that time. So we didn't get a chance to go. But everybody I talked to about the first year of Page said it went very well. I got to say that the volunteers, the staff, were spot on. I was very impressed. I've been at conventions where the staff's all right. No, they weren't just helpful, but they were interested in you as a customer, as an attendee. So it was really, really a pleasant experience. I'll put it to you that way. So,
what did you see any Pathfinder 2 games?
Those
around.
I heard it's very popular.
Very popular, except with DMs. It's very popular though.
And here's the thing: like when I was looking at, there were certain like retail booths. If you look like you just brought your store with you, like it was random gaming shit, I walked on by. I have the complete. I don't need to spend money. Nothing. Some people don't have that option. I went over to the artists. I went over to the publishers like Pacesetter and Joe Block and Frog God and others, and the ones that had some creative stuff. But I didn't see when I walked by these tables really any Pathfinder stuff. Now, I'm also hearing that Pathfinder. This was rumors from the con folks. Don't stick a pin in it and call it truth. But that Pathfinder was having money flow issues again. So I don't know.
What, Paizo or Pathfinder itself?
Paizo, I guess.
Paizo.
So Paizo didn't have a booth there? They didn't have a booth at Page?
No. I mean, I think the biggest publishers that did were like Pacesetter and Frog God. Most of the booths were independent publishers or people with like handicraft gaming stuff. There was a lot of terrain, good looking terrain. There were artists, I mean, that's where I was usually focusing myself on. But there were one or two booths that were, in my opinion, overly political in their displays. But I was like, I don't have to stop. Nope. It's no shit on my shoes. I don't have to deal with it. So
an overly political gaming booth. Boy, there's nothing more attractive than that. I'd stop by there 10 times a day.
You know what? Here's the thing. If people align with you, then you're gonna probably get their money. And if they don't, they're gonna walk on.
With 50 you're losing 50% of your audience if that's
right.
Depending where you're at, I guess.
I can't remember. Did you make a video about the men's rights goblin joke thing that was in the Sly Flourish material? Did you make a video about that?
No,
I heard that.
Yeah, to me it's the perfect example, because it's an example of like I could at any time in any of my stuff have an encounter where I throw in some reference to some cheesy shit. It doesn't have to be political. Even it could be like you run into Chunk from the Goonies or something. Yeah, Batgirl. It's some kind of dumb shit, and people would be like, "What are you doing putting this in there?" And at least if I put in like a Goonies reference or an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, so people would be like, that's I remember that. But to put in something that only half of your customers are even gonna potentially understand, and then it will piss off the other half. Nobody's going to see an Arnold Schwarzenegger quote and get like super pissed and be like, "Fuck this book," and like burn it. But you might lose a few points for seriousness or whatever. But I mean, like, I just don't understand why anyone would go to the point of making obscure hits on the other side. Like, why would you even do it? I just don't even get it.
I bought a book one time from Drive-Thru RPG, and inside the cover of the book, and I wish I had kept it somewhere, but it said inside the book basically that if it said like fairly good sized print on the inside cover, and it gave something that says, and if you're one of these fascists, get rid of this game, or we hate you, or we don't want you to play our game or something. I was like, what are we doing? What is that? And I told Drive-Thru, I said, look, I don't want this piece of garbage. I said, get rid of it. I said, I want my money back. And they gave me my money back. They looked at it, and I said, that's not acceptable for me. I said, if I'm going to buy something from people who hate me for whatever reason, I said, I'm not buying that. Not that I'm a fascist, but
Right. Because, all right. So, I remember there was, I can't even remember what the hell the release was on Drive-Thru, but on part of their, the sales page, the pitch page, they have the whole sale for, the whole pitch describing the game. And then the last line of the pitch is ACAB by itself. And for those that don't know what the acronym ACAB means, is all cops are bastards. So I made a complaint to Drive-Thru that they were politicizing the sale of the game. I don't know if the game was good or bad, but this is inappropriate. They agreed. I believe the publisher got into trouble because of what they did. I have since been called. I'm for censorship. I'm not for censorship. All right, but there's a time and a place. Censorship is by the government. Okay, if you're going to put all cops are bastards on your sales, you're expecting a response, good or bad. You got it. You got my complaint. It wasn't about censorship, but people hide those things. I've seen and heard of those instances, Flint, where people do it from either side of the aisle.
Yep.
And
if a waiter brings me food that I didn't order, it's going back.
Yeah.
I'm not just taking it.
That's not an Easter egg.
So I'm looking at Sly Flourish's page here.
Uh-huh.
And actually, The Forge of Foe was his latest work.
Right.
And it was added in October of 2023. And I'm looking, he has a Lazy DM's Companion, which is added in 2022, which is a Mithril Cellar.
Right.
And then, but this is more relevant because it's another monster book. He has 23 boss battles for your 5e RPG added in 2021, which is also a Mithril Cellar. But Forge of Foes It's only an Electrum bestseller, despite being on the list since October 2023.
Well, I think that's because word got out because people were doing videos about that whole thing on other channels and things, and people said, I don't think I want that. And I think that's a good point too, of where you separate art from artist. Do I have Sly Flourish's Lazy DM stuff? It's pretty good stuff.
Good stuff, yeah.
Good stuff. But I'm not gonna buy the other stuff.
I have strong opinions myself, but I make them known in the arenas where I have a chance of putting those, where those opinions will have a positive impact, and a game book is not one of those arenas.
No.
Right. A game book should be the ultimate neutral ground, right? It should be there as as a tool. It shouldn't be there as something to bludgeon somebody with this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing.
Well, the other thing too is, look, if you're gonna put it in the book, make sure you say up front, all right, triple down on what's in the book. Don't be sneaky. Don't hide stuff. If you want to say it's in there, be up front and say it's in there. But if you're not saying it because you think it's going to hurt sales and you think you're, going to re-educate the system out here, no, sir.
No,
absolutely not.
Well, that goes to that open letter I wrote to WotC on Twitter about one of the points was come out and say what it is that you think. Don't hold back, and then when somebody violates it, say, "Oh, now I'm going to tell you that you're wrong." Yeah, if you really want to make morality part of your business plan, then put it out front. Say up front, "This is what I think," and if you don't like it, then shove off, and then let people make that choice. But to hide it and then bring it out in retaliation for something or trying to backdoor it into other shit, that's just dumb. It shows you don't even have convictions of your own, because if you truly believe in whatever religion and you put that front and center in your book or whatever, you can respect that for sure. Even if I disagree with it, I'd be like, well, at least he's writing it, he's open about it. This is what he wants it to be. The end. But to write a book and then when somebody says, "Oh, well, that's dumb," and then you come out and say, "Oh, well, you're this bad, you're violating, you're this immorality, you're that, you're blah blah blah," that's just stupid. You either have the courage of the conviction up front or back it off.
And Retro Mad Guy makes an interesting point about Shadowrun, but from a creative vision, if you're doing it, you're writing a novel or something with a point of view. Well, maybe that's not good, but sometimes you write a point of view and you wind up writing a manifesto and you lose the point. But with RPGs, if you have a point of view, a creative vision that you want to express your point of view in, RPG is an active medium. You can show rather than tell with an RPG product, and that's what you should do. Like you said, if you have a point of view and you have strong opinions about it, show it. Don't tell us about it.
Right. No. And that's part of the issuing. Again, whatever your personal beliefs are, you bring it to your table. That's fine, especially if you're playing with a group that is like-minded. But when you're writing something for the public, you're writing for the larger audience. You're not writing for yourself. You're not writing for your group. You're writing for the gaming world. I took creative writing class in college. Professor Titel, he's probably long past at this point, but he had the advice that stuck with me, that if you are writing for yourself, you are essentially doing mental masturbation. He goes, you have to write for an audience. It should be pleasurable, just like sex, but it has to be shared.
Yeah, but what about journaling? I mean, if you have a journal that you journal in, I mean, that's, for you.
This was a creative writing class. So if you're writing stuff in creative writing, you are writing for an audience. And
but you got to be very selective. I mean, I understand it's advice, but it can be pretty fucked up advice too when you tell that. Because when you're trying to write for an audience, a lot of times, then you get into that I'm trying to please everybody mode. I got to do that. Yeah, I mean, the best advice I ever heard I know we're going on a different thing, but Gabriel Garcia Marquez, what he would do is he would just picture his grandmother across from him, and he wrote his stories for his grandmother. Okay. And I heard like Kurt Vonnegut, like they would pick a particular person, and that's who he'd write this story for. When I write my adventures, I use that same type of thing. Sometimes I write adventures with Rob in mind. I know it's like, oh, Rob will really like this one, so I'll write it up kind of trying to, that I know he would like, or Matt, or any, Eric or whatever. Right. I just wrote one up not too long ago because I had Paul in mind, because of his thing.
But you are writing for an audience. Even if it's an audience of one, it's not the audience of you.
Right, but when you're, you got to be careful when you phrase.
Right, I know you don't want to be chasing the market. You don't want to be
because that's what that can be construed as.
Right.
That you're going to start chasing, because if you start doing that bullshit, in a way, you got to give no shits to what the audience care. You can't care about that.
Right.
They're either going to like it or they're not going to like it. Fuck it. It doesn't matter. It's your shit. You got to get the pleasure of writing it yourself. If it sells, that's just something that you're, some people are just excellent at making these things that are sellable. But like if you start chasing the audience, you've already doomed yourself before you even begin.
Oh, no, you have to stay true to your creative vision. However, you should be a little bit flexible about how you present your creative vision, because your audience can't read your mind. So
exactly,
particularly for RPG.
Right.
So Tim and Dwayne would tease me many times about the handouts I would give out. And, some of it was fun, but some of it had a kernel of truth. And over the years, I tried to hone it so it wasn't just me spewing 1,000-year history in a 10-page document, try to cut it down and keep it to 2 pages or whatever.
I've heard that's what Joe's releasing in his first product. It's just a fire hose of stuff. That's what I've heard.
2,000-page book, right?
That's right. No, there's definitely to go with some of what you were saying earlier too, Rob, about you need to hone it in and be concise and focus on it. There's I remember I first thought this about Christian Walker back in 2012, 2013, right? And he was putting out his Zine, and I said, this thing is just, the craftsmanship level is so high.
Yep.
That's what I really admire in what you're doing. And it was like he really refined it into I remember he had just one thing where it was just a goblin who would volunteer to carry your stuff. Yep. And he had this story, and it wasn't a long backstory, but it was just 2 or 3 sentences that were enough to really anchor this character that I still remember him 10 years later, this little fucking goblin, it was just so good. And I said to Kelsey Dion when I got the Cursed Scrolls in the Kickstarter set afterwards, I was like, the craftsmanship level on this is just so good. It's really admirable. And it makes me go back to my own stuff and say, how can I improve that? How can I refine that? And somebody said earlier, I forget about one of the problems with having all these Zines come out on Kickstarter and stuff like that is a lot of people are just buying from their friends, and it's kind of a circle jerk thing going on. And I think we really can benefit from people taking their time, writing something seriously, taking it seriously, not just I'm not a fan of Zines. Tim, there's room for it. I just throwing stuff out against the wall sucks for everybody.
You haven't seen a lot of Zines. There's a lot of sophisticated zines out there now. So I get what you're saying, but zines aren't throwaway. They're pretty sophisticated now compared to where they're too sophisticated for me now. I liked it when they were raw, and I liked it when they had that edge to it and it wasn't polished. But I mean, look at everything that's published these days. You can say that about anything with gaming stuff because there's just such a massive tidal wave of content coming out day after day. And because you can have someone who publishes a zine and it can sell 1,000 copies and it might suck, but you might find this one that only sells like Kristen he gave his away. Hey, we got Paul.
Yeah.
But I mean, the beautiful thing about Kristen's is he made something so simple, so elegant, and so beautiful in such a short period of time but he was also at the time one of 3 people doing it. Yep. So there was not all this pollution.
What was his zine again?
He had a bunch of different ones, Rob. He had what was it? 1 square equals 5 feet.
Lovitar, yes, that's right.
Lovitar.
It sounded familiar. I have all his Lovitar.
Yeah, and then he had a bunch of one-page zines that he did too. And he had this one zine. I think it was 1 square equals 5 feet. And he just did a room each one, but he just kind of did these cool little details. And it was just, there wasn't anything fancy about it. There was no big art. It was all his hand sketched, but it was about, I don't know, something about Kristen. So we need more Kristen Walkers. We really
do.
Yeah. Because he just had such a joy. The joy of his creation was just there, and you just felt it coming off the page. And I do miss getting content from Kristen, because I mean I have all of his stuff that I could ever get kind of collected together, because he ended up losing it all, and luckily I had most of everything, so I was able to send it to him in a PDF.
And here we go.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And of course we another famous zine.
Yeah.
That looks familiar.
Yeah. Well, the only reason that exists is because of Kristen Lovitar. That's what inspired me to do it. Yeah.
Yep. You can get them. I looked on. They're on eBay. People sell them for like $10, $15.
Yeah, Kristen, I think was selling those things for $250, $325. I mean,
$3.
He never sold them for. Nowadays, that's the thing with Zine Quest. It's almost like all of them are so polished and so high gloss that it's costing you $20-$25 for a freaking zine now. It's like,
well, if you like an unpolished zine, raw and unedited, clearly mistakes are free. By the way, I include those. I include those for free.
That's why I always say, I always say that the mistakes are always free. Yeah, you get those ones for free. Yeah. I think I got 5 versions of the last one, didn't I, Paul?
You did.
Yeah. Now I got it right. You guys both held those up, but their text was backwards, so we couldn't read it because of the mirror effect. Yeah. Does it say crit happens or something?
Yeah, crit happens. This is his first one. What do you got? 6 now, Paul?
6, yeah.
Here,
and what's nice about Paul's?
I swapped your camera around for you, so you can
hold it up, Paul.
Oh wait, hold on.
Your screen, you got to make
it
big and Paul.
Do it again. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. That's number 6. That's the newest one. I did some stuff with Undead. That's for my Hex Crawl of Horror. So I don't know anything about anything. I'm just
chocolate.
What's that?
Chocolate? Are there any chocolate pygmies in that?
There are no chocolate pygmies.
Okay.
At all.
No. It's old man eyes friendly.
That's true. It is. I make it large print. It's about 23 pages, and but I
appreciate it.
That's because I'm an old man too. I want to read my own writing, so
absolutely. You're writing it for you. You were the audience. So.
That's right. Well, I was going to say that too. Talking about that, I think it's true of all media. You have to have an avatar, right? And what I learned in a video, I took a YouTube course, and they always say that when you're talking to the camera, you have an avatar. There's somebody, you're making a list, you're drawing out a character, if you will, that this is the person I'm talking to. I'm talking to, whoever, if you're in gaming, you're talking to a new dungeon master. What are the pain points of that new dungeon master? You're talking to an old school gamer. You're talking to a 5e person, whatever it is. But you design that avatar to when you're doing that video, you're building your what is that, they tell you everything. It's like, what is that DM like, to drink? What is that DM like? What are their hobbies? What are their, you're fleshing out, this avatar of the person that you're talking to, on the other side of the video.
And considering the nature of our hobby, that's ironic because we're all supposed to be refereeing, getting in the minds of our NPCs in order to role play them. So that should be second nature to those of you who do YouTubing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would think.
So Eric has got the tavern people. That's who he's talking to. The drunks, the ne'er-do-wells.
Hey!
The people who can't go home because they got problems.
Mike, man, come on. Now, some of them are some of them are more sober than others. Okay.
You should make a monster supplement that has like miscreant, drunk.
I have it. One of my Ken wrote up a beer golem beer golem, or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yep. Tabletop. He brought up that, and we have people using AI plagiarism, trying to put out products and their names on it, and it's dribble. Absolutely. Now that's the other thing. I think this year more than any other year, we're really going to start seeing the AI content churning out. There's going to be more than there ever has been, and
and that's what I did with what I try to do. See what would happen is it can recognize maps. So I threw up a map, one of my blank maps up, or not blank, but one of the ones I've been written about. I told to generate content for it, and the problem that I found that if your area is limited in scope, it can be amazing, okay? But when you try to do it 100 times, it's like your buddy who, okay, can you come up with something different now? How about something different now? You're not coming up with something different. It's the same thing repeated over and over again. It starts to repeat itself very quickly. Doesn't scale.
Well, and then the other funny thing is I was reading something about Dyson, and he says his maps are still coming up. When he draws a map, it's still coming up that it's AI generated. He just fucking drew it. It's still saying like it's AI. It's an AI thing.
So you're saying,
and I'm concerned about that. I have a subscription to Grammarly, and the grammar checkers are getting more AI in them, and sometimes it wants to reword what I say. So I have to be careful. I mean, it's still helpful, but it's becoming like this editor that's kind of like technically good, but quit fucking changing what I'm writing, dude. Correct the grammar.
Well, I write in InDesign because I write in layout, and it helps me imagine how the thing is going to look in the end and everything. So that's why I do it. But it does present kind of it's not in a word processor, so it doesn't tell you that that's spelled wrong or that should, there should be a comma there or whatever. So then when I'm done, I export the PDF into Word and have Word do it. And it's almost 10% of the stuff that it gives me is correct, and 90% of it is wrong. And it will, I have to go through it and go, wait a minute, is that really right? Because it doesn't understand how I use a lot of words and how things are structured. And so it'll be like, you should pluralize this word, and I'll reread the sentence and I'll go, no, I shouldn't pluralize that word. But so it's like, I don't think of it as an editor so much as it's a potential like a metal detector. It'll go, hey, there might be something here, and you're like, that's a boot.
A lot of false
and then and then you go over here and there's another false. Yeah, but like occasionally it will find the thing. Okay, I go, okay, yeah, that actually does need to be changed. But really, like 1 in 10 is correct, and I have to just filter through it constantly to be like, is this even accurate? And I think a lot of I imagine that like a dystopian futures keeps growing where we're spending more and more of our time fixing the AI's interpretation of what we did back to being correct. How many times do you type something on your phone and it autocorrects and you're like, no, that's not what it should be autocorrected into, just because it's a piece of shit AI and it doesn't understand that what you said was right the first time.
I know what I mean. I know what I mean.
Well, Greg, with me, it's a little higher than 1 to 10 because of the problems I have with language because of my hearing loss. So without it, I would be dead in the water and probably wasting an editor time with 101 mistakes. So it helps me more. But yeah, I run into like, no, I really meant this. And no, the best use of AI I found is like a random table generator. Give me 10 Assyrian names, and then it'll give me 10.
It's limited. I've played with it just to see if it can do so. If it can give you 10 Assyrian names, but it can't give you 100 Assyrian names that are good. It'll start fucking up. It'll start making them Persian names and Egyptian names that happen to coexist at the same time of the Assyrian Empire, and then it's going to start finding people who are Neo-Assyrians, and then it's going to start just flooding everything out until eventually you're looking at Arabic names and you're like, what?
Well, I wouldn't use it if I was going to write the Assyrian RPG. You're right about that, but when I want to have something sound vaguely Assyrian or Mesopotamian, it works for that.
Well, D10 and under. That's probably
that's what I'm saying. Like it can give you 10 good. If you say
that's a sweet spot, huh?
Give me 10 good encounters in the mountains, and it might give you 10.
Oh,
it ain't going to give you 25. It's going to start repeating. It's going to start cycling. You find a fairy king, and then you find a fairy king that's got a hat, and then you find a fairy queen, you find a fairy prince, you find a fairy duke, but he wants to be king, and then you find
the hairy king. When you find the hairy king, then the hairy queen. Then you've stepped into the wrong world. But listen, we've also seen it's the infamous use of AI, right, to write arguments in court cases and have it quote cases that don't even exist.
Yeah,
direct ones. It's like
it lies. That's why I don't want to talk about my work on here very much. Like you can't use it in my work because it lies so much. It doesn't. I would have to spend so much time fixing the lying that it wouldn't help. My stuff is really, really precise.
Right.
And it just makes shit up.
Can you give a command not to lie? Hey, give me XYZ and do not lie. Make sure everything is legit.
Well, there's a Jordan Peterson interview with this AI expert guy that I've dropped a link in the group chat a long time ago. I don't think anybody watches it because it's like 2.5 hour interview.
Oh, okay.
But he goes off in all these directions because Jordan Peterson doesn't give a shit about all the questions people normally ask these AI guys. He's going in these. He's like, how can I use it to help somebody stop drinking? How can I do this? And he goes into like using the AI to defend yourself against other AIs, and like how to do this. Starts getting all this just 4D chess type use of the AI. Like it's really awesome conversation. And I try to think of that kind of shit.
So from work, I know AI does very well on programming problems. Now, obviously, because the whole thing's a software driven from the software industry, well, that's what we're going to focus on. But it's also because the way programming works, it's very structured. So they can optimize it for programming. But yes, once you get outside of any type of knowledge that isn't as structured as programming or programming technology, you run into it starts lying. Starts making shit up.
Yeah.
Even program, you copy and paste the raw output of an API or an AI query, likely is not going to run, but if you're an experienced programmer, you can get immediate feedback what's wrong. You can see what to do to fix. So it gets you the 80%. It gets you there is useful, especially if it's an element that you haven't worked with.
Yeah, and I think too, the more specific you can be, that's kind of the deal too, is that some people just put generic stuff in there. They're just like, make this thing up. But the more specific you can be with the prompt and ask it, then it can be a little bit more detailed. If you put some random, just not whatever you're putting in there that's so generic, well, it's going to come up with some generic stuff. But the more specific you are, I find it, it does a little bit better.
Give me what I want, not what I say.
And you have to also trick it. Like I was playing around with Grok to see, because I'm a premium Twitter user, and I can get Grok. So I started playing around with it. And if you just say, like, give me a human male that with a sword, then it's going to come across a lot of variation. But if you say, I want a black and white line art drawing with thick shadows and thick lines, and I want it to be in a traditional style, and I want him to be an Anglo-Saxon male with this helmet on and this kind of armor and this and that, you can get really specific, and then you get down to the point where it's generating the thing correctly, but it's cutting them off at the knees every time. So then you type in, I want at the bottom, and his boots are making the ground crack. So then it will draw his boots because you added that, and it because Grok gives you 4 attempts every time. 3 of the 4 will have his feet in the thing because you asked for cracked ground, and then but it's cutting off the top of his sword. So you go, okay, and there's a bird flying overhead. And then when it has to draw the bird, now it's putting the orientation of the field high enough that it's not cutting off his sword anymore. So like you have to trick it in with your prompt, to get exactly what it is. And if I put it on a white background, make sure you specify that, or else they'll give you some lame ass shit AI background. You put it on a white background, and then the little bird, you can just open up in Photoshop and wipe that bird out. The end, no problem. But you have to just kind of trick it forward into what you're wanting to do, and that runs counter to the idea of you could just ask it to provide you with 10 ideas for what if it only works when you're super super specific, then it's not going to be as good at doing the general theorizing level of things, right? So it's just and that's why I say it can't come up with more than 10. When you start pushing the boundaries, it just starts replicating. It starts feeding off of its own prior data. Also, you ask it for 10 questions, and then when you ask it for another 10 questions, it starts rewording some of the questions it's already given you. So it's not actually asking new questions. It's just rephrasing old questions. So it's that kind of thing.
There are books on how to craft
Ouroboros, where it's eating its own tail.
There are books on how to craft prompts under the publisher resource section in DriveThruRPG, and I got one of them just to see. And dude, I don't have time for this. I mean, they work, but
it was written by AI, Rob.
No, it was written by. Okay. Anyway, but I get it. You got me.
I still think, Rob. I still think there's going to be eventually a dead internet theory type intersection here. I saw this cartoon where it had one person on one side. There's 2 frames. One side it says, "Look, I took these bullet points and I told the AI to write it into an email." And then on the other frame, there's somebody going, "I got this long email and I used the AI to turn it into 3 bullet points." So it's like we're using the AI to act as a fake interface.
I've already done that. You guys will share a video from time to time, and especially Joe with his 2-hour fucking videos he wants us to watch and comment on. So what I do, especially since they got the new models of GPT with a bigger memory, I would just paste in cut and paste the transcript, and I will ask it to summarize me and give the 3 bullet points of what the fuck the guy was talking about.
I wonder how much of that it would be lying to you.
I tell you what does it. I've done Zoom interviews with people, and it'll send me now the AI. If you have your AI turned on through Zoom, it sends you the notes of your interview of everything that's in there, and concisely. It'll break it down for you to where the notes of your interview and everything of what you talked about, of what what you're going to need to come back on and all that stuff. So that's pretty good use of a AI within Zoom, at least.
Well, with the caveat, it will be prone to hallucination. So
yeah. And then Flint talked about how he loved beaver. What? What? How did that get in there? That'll be in the AI transcript, buddy.
I read those transcripts, by the way, before I ship them to the person I talk to. I'll go, let's just do a little review of that. I'll kind of spot check it a little bit to make sure it's on point, and normally it is. Now, if it's kind of like Batgirl, I would have no problem including that.
Ah, well.
Just want to put that in there.
When I do those summaries, I will ask you what the time, ask you about timestamps, so I can actually go and watch out of that 2 hour long whatever it is. I can watch the 5 minutes that are relevant.
Oh, this is one thing I was going to say about that Jordan Peterson interview. Is he asked the guy about lying, and they talk about it, and he says sometimes like it'll come back and it'll say something, and he'll go, "That isn't true," and it'll go, "Oh, sorry. Do you need anything else?" Like
shuts it down.
It doesn't care. Like it's like, yeah, sure.
Okay. I lied.
Sorry.
Okay, that's what I do. It's amazing. Well, we are past the 90-minute mark. We may be good for tonight. Well, I don't think we can. I think we can beat the AI horse into glue, but I think we're there. Quick note, folks: there is on the bottom of the screen a link to the Tavern Swag store.
Swag.
We got swag. You want to?
So you were really quick to act on our advice to diversify. Oh
yeah, I did. I was doing it tonight before the show. By the way, the store is not. It's all print on demand stuff. But you got glasses, you got backpacks, you've got a lot of things.
Where is it at, Eric? I don't see it.
10carstavern.printful.me on the bottom of the screen.
Now, what if I buy one of these?
Oh, okay.
What if I buy one of these and when I put it in my dishwasher, all that stuff starts to come apart in little bits and pieces?
Don't put the knapsack in the dishwasher, dude. That's what I'm going to tell you right now.
Saying if I buy a tumbler and it's got
bring it back to me personally, and I'll.
No, you won't be buying a tumbler. You'll be buying a rocks glass.
Yeah, I like the rocks glasses myself. I think they
$10 exclusive.
And there are coupons out there if you do some Google searching. I don't know what the shipping is. I'm sure it's not Amazon shipping prices, folks. Just warning you.
How much is 2,000 coppers in dollars?
$20, man.
Okay, so it's less than 2,000.
Wait. How much each copper piece weighs?
No, we're not doing that.
I could do it.
Doing that.
Yeah.
What is the conversion rate?
Put me in that ring.
What is the conversion rate?
Are we talking about Dwimmer Mountain copper pieces, or are we talking about Greyhawk copper pieces? Is it just a slightly different mass conversion?
I think I got a fever. I'm hallucinating. But personally, I like the drawstring backpacks because I hate going to a convention where everybody has the same damn backpack. So get a unique one, and that way nobody steals your shit inadvertently. They got to be overtly stealing it. How about that? Just
I don't want to tell you how to run your store here, Eric, but I think that if you had one that had your wife making a crazy face with thumbs up,
the Gamers Health, shot glass.
Yeah, it would move some units.
We can work on that. We can work on that.
Yeah, have Rachel just their face.
And as a side note, there's something that I'm looking at doing. It has nothing to do with this. I'd like to get challenge coins for the tavern, but I want them to be bottle openers because I want them to be used by people, not displayed on a shelf or tossed into a corner. I want people to have them in their damn pockets at the hotel bar and to go, hey. So I'll
make ones that have her how they have those have a inset in the middle and have a little dice of shame. So when your die's rolling bad, you can put it in the middle of the challenge coin to set it aside.
Put a little shame it, send it off to the tavern, Siberia.
You're right there. There's 20 sales for me because I go through that many days.
There you go. Mr. Gunn, you're late. You drop in, we're dropping out. I'm just saying, man. You can't. You can't pull this shit every week and say, "Hey, I'm here. Start the show."
Right.
No, that doesn't work that way, sir. You're gonna have to rewind back to the beginning.
Now, Rob, you could sell your Pie-Aid in a store like this. You could get the details from Eric.
Oh yeah, well,
set up Pie-Aid sales. You could sell
Pie-Aid
12 packs.
Pie-Aid pints. Pie-Aid water bottles. It could be done.
Somewhere out there in one of those stores that was originally like Zazzle, I forgot which one it is. You can find you can order a copy of my map, Waterlands Map 19 map, full poster size.
I actually had it printed on a big quilt, and it's. I sleep underneath your maps every night, Rob.
I could do that with that store. I forgot what store it was, but you could do that.
Snuggle with Rob's photography.
Snuggle with Rob.
John, I'll be at TotalCon in February. I'll be at a lot of cons this year, but next one's TotalCon in February, and maybe at Game Face Con in Baltimore in March. We shall see.
May you make all your saves versus disease.
Oh, I'm good at that. By the way, folks, 7 p.m. Sunday, Inappropriate Characters Rerolled. Yep. We Ryan David, Grim Jim, and myself. Not quite sure if it's going to be on this channel or just going to be on the Rumble, because apparently the powers that be at YouTube really don't like Ryan and have banned 2 channels of his. So I don't know if I want to be considered a channel of his, but maybe I'll roll the dice. Why
did they ban him?
Maybe for being inappropriate. I really don't know.
Didn't the pundit used to be on that?
That's why it's Inappropriate Characters Rerolled. This is once a month, Sundays, last Sunday of the month, and your 3 hosts. There will be guests, but your 3 hosts are the 3 that I just mentioned, and I'm looking forward to being unleashed.
You will put it up there at disadvantage, though. You will have to roll with disadvantage.
I may have to roll with disadvantage. This is going to be the one. My wife will probably be watching from another room because she'll be too tempted to participate. I'm just saying. I'm like, Rach, take the iPad. Be a viewer.
We'll be able to hear her laugh.
I was going to say we'll still hear her.
Oh my God!
You got to start getting a Rachel soundboard put together.
There you go.
Where you can just press a button and get a little Rachel comment, and it has to sound like it's coming out from the side. It can't be like at your voice volume. Like it has to be faded out. So then you could just be in control. You could just set everything she says off in the side. I'm telling you.
You're all crazy. John, I will probably not be at EggCon. Rach would love to go. Summer in Wisconsin, I'm sure, is beautiful. Summer in Wisconsin also can't be driven to, and I only fly to one con these days, and that'll be North Texas in July. which is followed immediately by Central New York Con, which is preceded by Wizard Con, where I believe Rob Conley is going to be in April, and then Shire Con in Connecticut in September. Dude, there's only so much of me I can spread around.
And our RPG Con is in June, correct? Not July, first week of June.
Oh, sorry. It's the second weekend of June. North Texas, and then followed by Central New York Con. Yes, and I know theoretically I have no cons in July or August. I could be in Wisconsin, but there's a certain thing called money, and it only stretches so far. I don't have those rubber dollars. If I did, hey, buy a lot of swag. Buy a lot of swag if you want me to go to EggCon.
Hey, that's what I'm doing with my zine. I'm telling them, look, buy the bundle so I can go to get to RPG Con there in Texas. So
North Texas, North Texas is a blast. Like I said, I got cons in back-to-back weekends in June, and I'm looking forward to the weekend.
And I thought I did it bad when I was LARPing just before I got married.
Bingo.
There was a period of time I was going to three events a month.
I got two back-to-back. I returned to New York on Monday, and then I hopped in the car Friday morning to go upstate.
I used to leave the house.
The only thing I could say, I was actually getting into shape because I was doing it so much.
There you go.
Because round is a shape.
Hey, so I have a Gamer's House pro tip.
Yes.
Avoid norovirus like the plague.
All right. When you name Nora, I will avoid. So it's only women named Nora that you got to avoid. Is that?
They're a virus.
Okay.
It's a form of the stomach flu, and it is nasty.
Oh, is that one of those ones where you projectile and you exhaust?
I will not be James Raggy and give a graphic description of my experience. I will only strongly advise to avoid getting it if you can.
Sounds like a plan. I will avoid getting it. Mr. Gunn, rubber. I listen. I am not an astronaut. I don't wear the rubber undies when I make a cross country trip. All right, just saying. All right, folks. On that note, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well. Gamers Health tomorrow at 8 p.m. Inappropriate characters we rolled 7 p.m. Sunday. Catch you all later.